Qui-Gon followed the Skywalker brothers through Mos Espa's dusty streets. The younger one, Anakin, all smiles and sunshine, proudly pointing out markets, cantinas, and the infamous pod racing arena, throwing love-struck glances at Padmé when he thought no one noticed. But Revan? Revan was a shadow in the heat island, sharp-eyed, wrapped in rough desert robes, and wary of every glance. While Anakin danced in the moment, Revan watched the world like it owed him answers. Qui-Gon saw it toothed tension in Revan's frame, the cold edge to his words, the way the Force trembled quietly around him. Padmé, curious and cautious, studied them both. The moment paused at a fruit stand run by Jira, a wrinkled vendor who lit up at Anakin's hug. The boy was warmth. The older one, though, was the storm on the horizon, watching, waiting, carrying something unspoken that Qui-Gon couldn't ignore. Jira gave him a warm smile before her gaze shifted to the other Skywalker. "Oh, hello, Revan," she said, her voice soft. "How are you today, dear?" "Surviving, Jira, but other than that, I'm fine," he replied, his voice carrying a weight of stoic resilience. "Aren't we all?" She answered with a gentle laugh. "Guess what?" Anakin's voice cut through the air, drawing everyone's attention. "I found that cooling unit I was looking for. It's pretty beat up, but with some care, I'll have it fixed in no time. That should help with the heat." Jira reached out, her wrinkled hand brushing against his pink cheek. "You're a fine boy, Annie," she murmured, her voice filled with tenderness. Anakin brushed off her compliment with a shrug, just doing what he believed was right because their mother always said the galaxy's real problem was that people stopped helping one another. "I'll take 5 pallies, Jira," he said, glancing at Padmé with a smile. "You'll like these." Digging into his pocket for his saved truggets, he fumbled and dropped one. Qui-Gon, standing nearby, stooped to pick it up just enough for the edge of his cloak to rise, revealing a lightsaber on his belt. Anakin's eyes widened in disbelief. The wind howled louder as Jira shivered, her voice creaking, "Gracious, my bones ache! There's a storm coming, boys!" "Get home, quick!" Crates toppled with the wind's fury, bursting open in a wet, mushy mess across the sand-covered street. As the dust cloud rolled closer, Anakin turned to Qui-Gon, sensing something deeper than just weather. "Do you have shelter?" he asked. The man gave a solemn nod, but the tension in the Force whispered of something greater brewing than just a storm. The winds howled as the desert sand whipped through the air, stinging their faces. "We'll head back to our ship. Thank you again, my young friend, for..." the middle-aged man began, but the teenager quickly cut in, his face twisted with urgency. "Is it far?" he asked. "It's on the city's outskirts," Padmé replied, her voice cutting through the wind, her arm blocking the sting of sand. "But you'll never make it before the storm reaches the city," Revan added coolly, his gaze scanning the horizon. "And even if you try, the Tusken Raiders will be waiting." Padmé turned back to him, confusion in her eyes. "Why worry about them?" she asked, her tone sharp, the sand clouding her vision. "They'll kill your old man, skin your friend, dismantle your droid for parts, and take you either as a slave or a trophy." Revan responded matter-of-factly. "What's the difference?" Padmé's voice faltered, and Qui-Gon placed a firm hand on her shoulder, his tone soft but grave. "It's better not to know." Padmé nodded slightly, the weight of his words sinking in as they faced the storm together, unsure of what awaited them. Revan's words rang out, cutting through the swirling storm. "But Revan's right!" Anakin yelled, looking to the others. "Sandstorms are no joke. Come with us. You can wait it out at our house. It's not far, and Mum won't mind." The wind howled as the sand clouded everything, and with no way to see, Anakin waved goodbye to Jira, yanked Padmé's hand, and pulled her along the streets. Behind them, the others followed as they raced through the dust-choked streets toward the hovel-like slave quarters. The stacked huts, small and cramped, stretched out before them. Inside, the smell of earth and hard life filled the air. "Mom, we're home!" Revan shouted, stepping through the door, shaking off the sand. Their mother, Shmi Skywalker, emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands, eyes widening at the unusual guest before her an alien, a sleek astromech, and a handsome stranger. She was a woman in her late 30s, with streaks of gray in her brown hair, soft features, and tan skin, standing just over 5 feet tall. Despite the worn rags that passed as clothes, her smile outshone the harsh suns of Tatooine, relieved that her sons had made it home. She hated that they had to serve Watto, but at least he gave them a roof over their heads and some pay. Still, no mother wanted her children to live in chains. Revan Skywalker, the older, brooding brother of Anakin, bears the weight of his troubled past and his mysterious connection to the Force. While Anakin remains innocent and full of wonder, Revan is shaped by years of hardship and silent rage, a stark contrast to his younger sibling's optimism. When Qui-Gon Jinn, the Jedi Master, arrives on Tatooine, he quickly senses something unique about Revan, a Force presence that doesn't fit the typical mold. Alongside Padmé, undercover on a mission, the two are drawn into the Skywalker's world, where Revan's latent power becomes harder to ignore. As his visions of a hidden prophecy begin to manifest, Qui-Gon realizes this young boy could be the key to a deeper mystery, one even the Jedi Council has overlooked. Between the harsh desert landscape and the tense relationships that brew in Shmi's home, the journey for parts and answers becomes more than just a fight for survival. It's a battle of destiny itself. As the storm rages outside, the group takes shelter in the humble home of the Skywalker. Anakin, eager to impress, reveals his ongoing project to build a droid, while Padmé, undercover, becomes increasingly drawn to Revan's enigmatic presence. The older Skywalker, scarred by years of control and burdened with strange visions, hides a power far greater than anyone could imagine. Amidst the whirlwind of destiny, Revan's hidden past begins to surface, stirring the Force in ways that even Qui-Gon can't ignore. With a powerful legacy simmering beneath the surface, the journey of these unlikely heroes takes an unexpected turn, where fate, family, and the Force intertwine in ways that could alter the very course of history. In a dimly lit room cluttered with tools and half-finished projects, Padmé's curiosity peaked as she followed Anakin toward his workspace. The room, more of a workshop than a bedroom, held two large tarps concealing unknown shapes. Anakin, eager to share, pulled one off, revealing a droid in progress, wires exposed, its body not yet complete. "Meet C-3PO," Anakin said proudly, explaining how he'd salvaged parts for months to build the droid, with a little help from his brother Revan on the wiring. "He's for Mum," Anakin added, his voice tinged with bashfulness at Padmé's impressed response. The scene spoke volumes about Anakin's hopeful spirit and Revan's silent dedication. As Padmé admired the droid, she couldn't help but notice the deeper layers of these brothers, each building, not just machines, but bridges between past and future destinies. "Want me to activate him so you can speak to him?" he asked, grinning as Padmé nodded with bright curiosity. With a flick, the protocol droid lit up and sat upright, turning its golden head toward them. "Greetings, I am C-3PO, human-cyborg relations. How may I serve you?" Padmé clapped in delight. "Oh, he's wonderful, Annie!" But 3PO's gaze shifted to the other workbench, his voice trembling. "He's not active, is he, Master Revan?" The room fell into a chilling silence. Revan didn't answer, only turned with a smirk that unsettled Padmé. She leaned in to whisper to Anakin, "Who's 3PO talking about?" Her voice barely audible, as if the stillness had swallowed her breath. Anakin muttered, eyes locked on the dormant bench. "Revan's droid." The handmaiden couldn't shake off the unsettling feeling when he muttered the word droid. It was as if the mere mention of it had conjured dread. "Is it like 3PO?" Padmé asked, glancing at the pale boy beside her. "No!" the blonde Skywalker shot back, startling her with the intensity of his response. "That thing is nothing like 3PO. He lowered his voice. "I have no idea why Revan would even create something like that, but it's not natural. It's unlike any droid I've ever seen." Padmé, trying to reassure him, asked, "It can't be that bad, can it?" Anakin shook his head, eyes wide with concern. "No, it's worse." Then, out of nowhere, Revan turned to the handmaiden, his gray eyes meeting hers with a strange intensity. "Would you like to meet him?" he asked, catching her off guard. She couldn't help but notice how unique his eyes were, something about them so captivating. But quickly, she shook off the thought. She had a duty to her people, a responsibility as the Queen of Naboo. The moment they left Tatooine, she would never see the Skywalkers again. And oddly, that thought weighed heavier on her heart than it shouldn't. Revan stood with his back turned, motioning to the droid he had created, the shadows of the desert world still clinging to his silhouette. "Meet HK-48, he introduced, his tone grim but proud. The droid's appearance was far from comforting ahead, shaped strangely, its hollow eyes, sockets gleaming red, and a central, rectangular battering ram fused into its frame. all covered in rust-colored plating. It was a beast in metal form, not something out of a child's innocent fantasy. I made him when I was young. Maybe not the kind of toy a kid should dream up, but, he chuckled darkly, I was always a bit different. Padmé, her eyes locking onto Revan's creation, couldn't hide her smile. Was? She teased, and for a split second, the ice around Revan cracked, his lips curling into the smallest of smiles. I made him to protect my family, my mother, my brother. They're all I have. And I'd do anything to keep them safe, even if it means killing anyone who dares harm them, Jedi, Senate, or anyone else. Padmé's heart shifted at his words, and she felt the weight of his resolve. I wish I had someone like you, she whispered. Her cheeks flushed, but the truth of her words lingered between them, charged and sincere. Revan chuckled lightly as he watched Padmé's reaction to his comment. Her glare could have made anyone else crumble, but not him. Anakin, on the other hand, couldn't help but notice how Padmé acted around his brother, stirring something inside him. He quickly brushed it off, though. Revan smirked. I am pretty incredible, aren't I? The only response was a shove from the handmaid. So, you want to see him up and about? He asked, getting an eager nod in return. Reaching behind the droid's head, Revan flipped a switch, making its eyes glow blood red as it powered up and climbed off the table. As it scanned the room, its gaze locked onto Revan, and Padmé instinctively grabbed his arm in fear. She much preferred dealing with the Federation droids than this one. Greetings, Master. Inquiry. Would you like me to eliminate this meatbag? HK-48 asked with unsettling eagerness. Padmé tightened her grip on Revan's arm. That won't be necessary, HK, Revan replied with a chuckle, knowing how his mother had come to accept the droid despite its personality. Just then, R2-D2 made his presence known with a series of beeps, grabbing HK's attention as he looked down at the astromech droid. Oh, do shut up, you little bleeping trash compactor, HK snapped at the R2 unit, who only responded with more bleeps. See what I mean? Anakin whispered to Padmé, still holding on to Revan's arm, noticing the silence from him. I don't want to be anything like that useless bucket of bolts, meatbag, HK quipped, making Anakin frown at being called a meatbag. Why couldn't HK just call him Anakin? Would you like me to be more like that droid disgrace? HK taunted, to which Anakin responded fiercely. 3PO is not a disgrace! He was quick to defend his creation. And would it kill you to be nicer to everyone that's not Revan? He added. Of course, Master. HK replied sarcastically. Shall I fetch your dinner for you? It's no problem. I live to serve your every desire, Master. You know it doesn't really work if you tell me you're mocking me before you mock me, Anakin muttered at the assassination droid. Answer. Well, if I didn't tell you, I'd be worried that your fleshy processing drive wouldn't understand that I was mocking you, meatbag. After hours of insults from HK-48, the droid had spared no one but Revan, who he referred to as Master. Meanwhile, Shmi accepted the food capsules from Qui-Gon in exchange for shelter, grateful for the company as the storm raged outside, preventing their departure until nightfall. As they sat around the table discussing the harsh reality of slavery, Padmé struggled to comprehend its prevalence in the Outer Rim. There are tiny devices implanted inside the bodies of slaves when their masters first gain them, Shmi explained. Revan's close to finding ours, though, Anakin chimed in with hope. And once he does, we can finally be free from Watto and leave Tatooine. His optimism was met with a soft ruffle of his hair from Revan, a rare moment of warmth despite their harsh lives. Shmi's heart swelled as she saw her son's bond, yet the fear of tampering with the devices lingered in the air, reminding them all of the delicate path they walked between freedom and danger. Then, boom! You blow up faster than a farewell to your mom, Anakin finished, not noticing the shocked faces of Padmé and Jar Jar. The Jedi Master, however, kept a calm expression he knew all too well about slavery in the Outer Rim. But as a Jedi, he had to remain detached. The actions of the Jedi reflected on the Republic. How rude, muttered the Gungan with a frown. I can't believe slavery still exists, Padmé said, her face sour. The Republic's anti-slavery laws, she began, but was cut off by Revan, who sat across from her. Doesn't exist here, he interrupted. The Republic never cared for those beyond its borders. They talk about being the galaxy's protectors, just like the Jedi, but the truth is, they only defend what benefits them in the end. Revan, Shmi scolded. Seriously, I'm just stating the facts, Mum. Both the Jedi and the Republic have known about the slavery, The Hutt Syndicate, the pirates, and slavers controlling the Outer Rim for ages, and they've done nothing. Maybe it's because they know they'd be overwhelmed if they tried to fight all those pirates? Qui-Gon mused, leaning forward. And what about the Jedi? Revan shot back. What about them? With all the children they take from their families, surely they could build an army. The Jedi are peacekeepers, not soldiers. Qui-Gon responded, unshaken by Revan's jab, a familiar protest he'd heard countless times before. But weren't they soldiers in the Old Republic? Revan pressed. They protected the innocent, defeated the corrupt. That was a different time. Qui-Gon countered. Now, we live in an age of peace, where the Jedi no longer need to be warriors. You seem to know a lot for a simple farmer, Revan remarked, his eyes narrowing as he studied the long-haired man. Qui-Gon Jinn, with a knowing smile, replied, I could say the same about you, my young friend. The Jedi's lips curled into a small grin. Not many know about the Old Republic, nor do they care much either. Revan's thirst for knowledge was insatiable, something his mother, Shmi, couldn't help but comment on, much to her son's displeasure. Don't give me that look, honey. You know it's true, Revan grumbled, a small pout forming on his face. History tends to repeat itself, and only a fool ignores it. Padmé giggled softly at the sight. Anakin, eager to shift the mood, asked, So, have you ever seen pod racing? I have, Revan responded. They have pod racing on Malastare. As Qui-Gon Jinn arrived on Tatooine, his attention was drawn not only to Anakin Skywalker, but also to his older brother, Revan Skywalker. A self-trained, Force-sensitive teenager, Revan carried the weight of years spent under the control of the cruel junk dealer Watto. With Padmé undercover and intrigued by Revan's intense intelligence and unwavering moral clarity, the plot took an unexpected turn. As Revan's latent powers began to manifest, strange visions and unsettling whispers from the Force led Qui-Gon to suspect something far deeper than just raw talent. It seemed Revan was tied to a prophecy the Jedi Council knew nothing about. What began as a search for parts to repair a ship evolved into a battle for destiny, legacy, and rebellion as Revan's presence altered the course of the galaxy. Anakin glanced at the older man sitting at the table, his curiosity piqued. You're a Jedi Knight, aren't you? He asked. Revan, looking as though he'd seen it all, responded with a smirk. I doubt it, Annie. I expect you're a Jedi Master. Either that or you've been waiting for your trial for far too long. Qui-Gon, surprised by Revan's deep knowledge of the Jedi Order, couldn't help but notice the subtle jab at his age. What makes you think I'm a Jedi? He inquired, though his gaze lingered more on Anakin, who had asked the question. I saw your lightsaber earlier. Anakin said, matter-of-factly, Jedi are the only ones who use lightsabers. He nodded as if he'd cracked a cosmic code. Revan, ever the enigma, thought for a moment. His presence here was supposed to remain under wraps. Any attention would complicate things. Maybe I killed a Jedi and took it as a prize? He offered, his voice dripping with ambiguity, leaving the room hanging in tense silence. Revan's voice cut through the air with a sharp conviction. I don't think so, he said, locking eyes with the Jedi Master. The only way to kill a Jedi besides overwhelming them or the passage of time is a Sith Lord. But according to the Old Republic texts I've read, they were either destroyed or faded into history. Though you can't trust everything in a book, can you? His words hung in the air, leaving Qui-Gon astounded by how much the boy knew about both the Jedi, the Sith, and the ancient past. Anakin, eager to share his thoughts, spoke up, his voice full of hope. I had a dream once, that I was a Jedi Knight. I came back here and freed all the slaves. His eyes sparkled with the possibility. Qui-Gon raised an eyebrow. Is that why you're here? To free us? Anakin didn't buy the Jedi's answer, but Qui-Gon remained firm. No, I'm afraid not. Anakin, however, was undeterred. I think you have. Why else would you be here? Revan pretended not to care, though his sharp ears caught every word. Qui-Gon, sensing the boy's curiosity, sighed inwardly before yielding to the inevitable. All right, since you're so keen, we're headed to Coruscant, the heart of the Republic, on an urgent mission. Revan, ever the skeptic, raised an eyebrow. Seems you're far off track then, he remarked. Trust me, I know, Qui-Gon replied with a heavy sigh. Our ship's been damaged, and we're stuck here until it's fixed. Padmé, with a somber expression, added, If we had the right parts and tools, I'm sure Revan could fix it. Revan's eyes flickered with interest. If you've got the parts, I can fix anything, he offered. Padmé smiled faintly, but the disappointment in her voice was clear. We don't have the parts. That's why we ended up at Watto's in the first place. Qui-Gon stood by, watching the scene unfold with a quiet intensity. Waisa got no moolah to trade, Jar Jar muttered, the weight of his words sinking in. These junk dealers must have some weakness? Padmé pondered aloud, her mind racing for a solution. Everybody shares the same weakness on this planet. Revan's voice cut through the murmur, his eyes meeting Padmé's with a knowing look. Gambling. It's the heart of this place. Watto's got slaves because of I've bet and won the money he needed, he added, his words carrying a weight Padmé could feel deep in her chest. Qui-Gon mulled over Revan's words, stroking his beard thoughtfully. Greed can be a powerful ally, he mused, his eyes narrowing. I've got a pod, Revan said simply. Well, I made it. The tension hung in the air, charged with possibilities, as they realized this desperate gamble might be their only chance. In a galaxy where destinies intertwine, Revan Skywalker, a self-trained Force-sensitive teen, stands at the crossroads of fate. Haunted by visions in his past under the cruel junk dealer Watto, Revan's presence on Tatooine disrupts the calm. His stoic nature and sharp intellect catch the attention of Padmé, undercover and drawn to his clarity. When a race looms on the horizon, Revan's suggestion to enter his pod into the competition brings tension. While his mother warns of Watto's wrath, Revan confidently dismisses the threat. Yet, the underlying truth is darker. Anakin, his younger brother, is forced to race under Watto's control, and Revan's protective instincts clash with the deep moral cost of the action. As Qui-Gon Jinn senses an ominous ripple in the Force, it becomes clear Revan may hold the key to a prophecy, one that challenges the very fabric of the Jedi's beliefs. His journey is one of rebellion, destiny, and a profound moral battle, as the boy who was meant to be lost may change the fate of the galaxy. Shmi looked at Revan with a deep sadness, her heart heavy with the terror of seeing her sons risk their lives for nothing more than the chance for Watto to make more money. It broke her to the core. But Mom, I love it, Anakin retorted, a spark of defiance in his young eyes. Pod racing was his dream, his escape from the chains of slavery, and he swore to become the greatest racer the galaxy had ever seen. Revan, always the more pragmatic one, tried to soothe her fears. Come on, Mother, you can't deny that the prize money could fix everything, pay for the parts, and even buy our freedom. He knew the stakes, but his mind raced with the possibilities. Qui-Gon stepped in, sensing the tension, his voice calm but firm. Revan, he said, turning to Shmi, is there anyone here who could help us? Someone who's friendly to the Republic? Shmi looked down, the weight of her helplessness clear in her eyes. She shook her head. Number. Revan stood tall, a quiet guardian of his home. I need you to protect the house again, HK. If you detect any intruders, do what you must, he commanded. The droid's cold voice broke the silence. So, I may dispose of any worthless intruders, as you say. A smirk passed over Revan's face as he nodded. Exactly, but don't harm anyone inside the house. HK, Ever the Cynic scoffed. What about that useless bucket of bolts? He gives droids a bad name. Revan chuckled. I'm not here to stop you. With a final glance, Revan stepped out, unaware of the Jedi who followed him from the shadows. Racing across the rooftops, he made his way into the harsh desert. After a half-hour trek, he entered the secret cave that had become his sanctuary. Powering up the generator, the dim lights flickered, revealing a challenging obstacle: courser ropes, poles, and swinging blade saw, the tools he needed to hone his skills in solitude. HK, protect the house again. If any hostile entities approach, do what you have to do, Revan ordered with a half-smile. So, I can eliminate the intruders? HK quipped, earning a brief nod. Yes, but don't harm my family. What about that useless bucket of bolts? He gives us droids a bad name. HK muttered. I won't stop you if I'm not around, Revan chuckled, heading out unaware of the Jedi tailing him. Leaping across rooftops, Revan swiftly made his way toward the desert. After trekking for half an hour, he arrived at a hidden cave. Inside, he powered up a generator, lighting up a training area filled with obstacles like rope swings, poles, and swinging blade shifts, own secret training ground. The tension hung in the air as something ominous stirred in the distance. Qui-Gon Jinn, keeping a careful distance, watched Revan Skywalker as he moved around the cave, impressed by the boy's ingenuity in creating an obstacle course from scraps. Just as he was about to step forward and discover what had brought him here in the dead of night, Revan's voice broke the silence, echoing in the cave. "Are you there?" he asked, his gaze searching the room. "The dreams are getting worse, more vivid. I need to know I'm not losing my mind." Qui-Gon, puzzled, wondered what these dreams were, visions that seemed to plague Revan, of a man in a mask, hinting at a dark future. "Why do I keep seeing that man in the mask? Is that supposed to be my future? Is that why his name is Revan too?" Revan muttered. Qui-Gon stepped into the light, his voice cutting through the tension. "What dreams are you talking about, Revan?" The sudden appearance startled the boy, a moment of realization hanging in the air. Qui-Gon Jinn, having skillfully followed Revan Skywalker through the shadows, watches with growing intrigue as the boy, with raven black hair and storm gray eyes, moves around his self-made obstacle course. Revan's resourcefulness impresses him as he works through the scraps of Tatooine, creating something uniquely his own. But just as Qui-Gon is about to step forward and confront him, the young Skywalker mutters to himself in the dimly lit cave, his voice heavy with the weight of unspoken fears. "The dreams are getting worse, more vivid. I need to know I'm not going crazy." The tension in the air grows thick as Revan speaks of dreams that haunt him, visions of a man in a mask, a shadowy figure that might be linked to his very future. With curiosity piqued, Qui-Gon steps out of the darkness, his voice calm yet firm. "What dreams are you talking about, Revan?" Revan, startled by the sudden presence, spins around, the mystery of his torment deepening as they stand face to face in the eerie light of the cave. The voice comes and goes, but there's something about this place that allows me to hear them the clearest. "This place has a strong connection to the Force." Qui-Gon remarked, his tone calm yet insightful. "Perhaps if you shared more about these dreams, I could help you uncover the answers you're searching for." The boy hesitated, uncertainty clouding his gaze. "I wouldn't even know where to begin." Qui-Gon smiled warmly, a fatherly gesture. "How about we start from the beginning?" he suggested, his voice filled with gentle encouragement. "It would take years to explain everything." "Then we'd better get started, my young friend." And so, the tale unfolds, the return of the prodigal knight and the Phantom Menace. While most of the plot mirrors the original, some subtle changes shape this story. The protagonist, Revan, has no memory of his past incarnation, his knowledge of the Force limited to dreams and visions. Unlike the Jedi, who remain unaware of his true identity, Qui-Gon begins to suspect there is more to Revan than meets the eye. The Council, without proof of Revan's reincarnation, sees him as just another boy with immense potential but too old to be trained. Revan, still at the level of a regular Padawan, faces struggles that shape him differently than the mythic heroes of old. This is a tale of a boy, haunted by memories he doesn't fully understand, and a destiny slowly unfolding before him. In a galaxy where destiny intertwines with the Force, Qui-Gon Jinn stumbles upon not just Anakin Skywalker on Tatooine, but also his enigmatic older brother, Revan Skywalker. A teenager burdened by years of oppression, Revan is a self-taught Force sensitive who harbors a mysterious path. As tensions mount, his latent powers begin to emerge, causing strange visions and whispers from the Force. Qui-Gon soon suspects Revan may be linked to a prophecy even the Jedi Council is unaware of. What begins as a mere quest for ship parts spirals into a tale of fate, rebellion, and the hidden legacies of two brothers each carrying their own burden, one of hope and the other of darkness. With a sharp political lens, the story explores the clash of ideals between Jedi and the harsh realities of life on Tatooine. Revan, a brilliant yet cynical soul, finds himself torn between his survival instincts and the mysterious pull of a greater purpose, altering the course of destiny itself.